Today, we are joining Families for Safe Streets, safety organizations, elected officials, community members, and others to mark the World Day of Remembrance for traffic victims. And we're demanding change. We all have the right to safe mobility, and we can prevent these tragic incidents. Together, we remember, support, and act to honor those who have been injured or killed on our public roadways. Together, we demand action.
Take a look at these shoes. Traffic crashes are the leading cause of death among our youth in the United States. And seniors, people who ride bikes, people who walk, low-income communities, and communities of color are all disproportionately harmed by traffic violence. This traffic violence epidemic only seems to be getting worse. In 2020, more than 42,000 people were killed on our roads in the United States, an 8% increase over 2019. And that's despite the fact that fewer people were driving on our roads due to pandemic conditions. And unfortunately, 2021 is shaping up to be even more deadly. We've seen an estimated 16% increase in traffic deaths on our road over the first 6 months of 2021.
On average, every day in Cleveland, one person is killed or suffers a life-altering injury on our city streets because of a traffic crash. In 2020, we lost 74 people due to traffic crashes, and so far in 2021, as of November 7th, we're at 62 deaths. While we know that people who are walking or riding a bike or on a motorcycle are more likely to suffer serious consequences of crashes, people in cars represent 2/3 of these serious injuries or deaths, so road safety matters to all of us. These people are parents, children, co-workers, and friends, and we stand together with those victims in working to eliminate these serious injuries and fatalities.
74 people died last year in traffic accidents. In 2021, 65 have died. This is a dubious distinction because it means that we're on par to match what occurred last year potentially. One death is one death too many.
My wife, Danielle, was a high school engineering teacher. She worked at MC Squared, and we live in downtown Cleveland, and she was walking to work. We only lived about 3 blocks away from the school that she worked at, and she, on November 3rd, only made it 2 blocks before a large truck ended her life. In terms of how it's affected me, I mean, it's affected every single part of my life. You know, the love of my life was killed. Walking to work to teach children, mindlessly, without reason, and without any sort of sense to it. It's just a thing that happened. I know that we need to do more to protect pedestrians in terms of the hole that this leaves, the immense grief or sense of loss. It's all-encompassing, not just for me, but for her family, her friends, her many students who went to school and found that their teacher was dead. If there is anything that can be done about it, then it should be done. That's really all there is to it. Someone died. My wife died because we don't do enough to protect human beings.
Danielle was my older sister, and she was my first friend, and she was the aunt to my children. She loved to see them, get pictures, videos. She was a daughter to my parents, and there to support them and support me in the different struggles of life, and just somebody who's always been there, and I guess I always thought she would be. And I don't know if this is the case or not, but people don't pay attention when they're driving. They're on their phones, and that phone call or text or message you're looking at isn't worth somebody's life.
In 2017, I was biking home when I was involved in a crash 1 block from my house. It was the evening and I was in an intersection and a distracted driver turned left into me, causing me to sustain a subdural hematoma, which is a brain bleed. The intersection where my crash occurred is where two poorly designed streets come together. The streets are both very wide and encourage speeding. The intersection is designed for cars and not for people walking and biking. This is me following the crash. I had no thoughts. Everything in my brain was completely silent. It took probably a couple weeks for my brain to actually start having any thoughts again. I have spent the last 4 years recovering from my traumatic brain injury. My heart breaks for the people that are not okay and have not survived the same way that I was able to.
I was in a car crash in October 2021 while riding my bike to work when a car turned into the bike lane without a clear line of sight. The left side of my head and face and my body slammed into the driver's passenger side door, and I was fortunate to walk away from that only needing stitches in my face and having a bruised rib. A year before that crash, I was hit by a car while riding my bike to work on that same stretch of road when a car passed me and then made a right-hand turn into the bike lane and hit me. In both those instances, the drivers were not driving recklessly or particularly aggressively, but our streets are designed so that drivers don't have to pay attention, even when they're going at fast speeds. I think we can change this if we come together and help each other understand what it means to prioritize people and neighborhoods and not cars.
I cannot leave one single community meeting without my residents telling me about how important safety is on our roadways and public right-of-ways. Having safe infrastructure, safe mobility for people of all users, of all abilities, is a critical part of moving Cleveland forward to become a more equitable, safe, inclusive, and exciting city to live in. We know that far too many people, one being too many, die on our roads every single year, be it pedestrians, be it cyclists and otherwise, and that is completely unacceptable. And not only is it unacceptable, but it's preventable. And I think that that is the most infuriating thing that we see when we think about this movement to create a city with much safer mobility options for all users and people of all abilities. We want to make sure that we have bike networks, safe multimodal environments. We want to make sure that we are prioritizing our construction and design of our roads to be environmentally friendly, taking on water runoff, ensuring that we're growing our tree canopy. And by doing this, we will create a more equitable, safe city and also spur economic development. So this is an issue of safety and equity today, but this is also an issue to make Cleveland a truly vibrant and exciting world-class city for the next 100 years.
Vision Zero is a collaborative initiative to eliminate serious injuries and deaths on our streets because of traffic crashes. It involves looking at the complete transportation system and reevaluating how our roads are funded, designed, enforced, how we educate drivers, and the types of vehicles that we build and put out on the streets to keep people safe.
And through our Vision Zero efforts, we seek to achieve 0 traffic fatalities. The Vision Zero Action Plan is very important with changing the culture in our community and helping us achieve our goal of 0 fatalities citywide. And we know that it's going to take all hands on deck.
Traffic crash survivors, victims' families, and advocates are a part of a growing movement demanding safety for all on our roads. We know that by working together, we all have the capacity to prevent these tragedies and prioritize safe mobility for all. Nationally, we call on President Biden and the U.S. Congress to commit to the first ever national commitment to 0 traffic deaths. We urge our federal leaders to pass the bipartisan congressional resolution calling for a national Vision Zero goal and plan. And we join our local leaders in building an accountable, data-driven Vision Zero strategy for Cleveland. Systemic change is needed at all levels to make our roads safe for all road users.
Hi, this is Mayor-elect Justin Bibb, here to commemorate the World Day of Remembrance and to recognize all that have lost their lives due to pedestrian deaths, not only across this city, but across the world. As the next mayor of Cleveland, I'm going to fight to do everything we can to make sure we prioritize pedestrians over cars. That means fighting for policies like Vision Zero, complete streets, and also making sure we have protected bike lanes all across the city. This is not just a matter of public policy, but a matter of moral responsibility to make sure that every resident across our city feels safe when they're walking our streets or biking our streets. That's what's going to make us a great American city once again.
Locally, we can change the complacent behavior and policies that allow one person every day to be killed or seriously injured on our streets in the city of Cleveland. We know where crashes are happening. We know what we need to do to make our streets safe. We need broad support to advance the goals of Vision Zero. We need funding to modernize our roadway designs in order to keep speeds low. We need to prioritize vulnerable road users, people biking, walking, and accessing public transit through complete streets policies and vulnerable road user laws. We must also co-create a culture that values life and the well-being of people over the movement of vehicles.
Traffic violence isn't some epidemic we don't know the answer to. We know what causes crashes, and we know how to prevent them. We know it isn't hard and it isn't expensive, but it does require collective action and will. It requires all of us to change our attitudes and expectations about what our transportation system provides. Together, we remember, support, and act. Together, we demand action and the urgency needed to change our streets. Join us at visionzerocle.org and be part of this change.